I'm going to hand it off to our guest speakers here. I'll introduce them first. So to our left here, to your left, is Peter Sommer. I actually worked with Peter for many years on the Word team. He's currently a principal software engineer for Microsoft Office on the Word team. I can let him kind of go into more specifics of maybe what he's working on there. And then we have Robin Geese. Did I pronounce that right?
Yep.
Robin Geese to our right. Engineering manager supporting the Messenger desktop team at Meta/Facebook. Does that sound like a good? Okay. So I'm going to hand it off to them. So want to take turns with the mic, or yeah, let's take turns with the mic just in case folks need to hear it. But we want to go first.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So I've been on working at Word for about 10 years now. It's a fun product. I'll tell you some more of that part of the story when I get to it. But I've been at Microsoft since 1999, although I took a break in the middle, which I'll talk to also. But I got started programming pretty young. My dad was actually an actuary, someone who does math for insurance companies, essentially. But just around the time when I was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, he started getting into actuarial programming. So they were starting to computerize actuary work. And so he started learning Pascal, bought a PC for home, and I kind of started learning a little bit along with it, just kind of as, a little bit of an activity on the side. Nothing very serious. I was making like character graphic, like animated cartoons essentially, which were kind of fun. I did a little more through middle school. Like none of the schools that I went to had actual programming classes, so this was all kind of outside on my own. But I taught myself assembly language while I was in middle school, and did some assembly language programming kind of through middle school and high school. But what I was really focused on was going into theater lighting design. So I went to the University of Southern California and I got a lighting design degree from there. But sort of towards the end of getting that degree, I took CS 101, right? And I found out that it was like, I'd always had this story about that I kind of like programming, but doing it as a job would be really boring. Right? Like, what am I going to do? I'm just sitting around like programming all day. And that class sort of was this perfect combination of, it was really, really fun. Like I really enjoyed the problems that I was getting in that class. I'm sure it's the same kind of stuff that you're all doing in this class here, probably even more basic, but it was just really, really fun. And I found out I was pretty good at it. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll take another one. And so I took another class that was all about data structures, and I really liked that one too. And then kind of at that point I decided, well, maybe I'll just do this as my career, and I'll see if I can just take as many of the hardest programming classes I can in the time I have left. I got enough practice in that I was able to get into Microsoft right out of school, which was a bit of a miracle. I wouldn't recommend that particular route I took, but I think it does kind of show that Microsoft even back then was really not focused on the credentials and was really focused on can you get the work done. So I worked on a product that never shipped called NetDocs. When I got in, it was a blast, but I got sort of my first lesson in hey, business actually makes decisions. So after about a year and a half, that product got canceled. But it was just amazing, working with all of these engineers who had a lot of experience, and I learned a ton in that first year and a half. I mean, just the amount of learning you do when you get your first professional programming job is pretty amazing. I did that for a while. That product got sort of morphed into another product called InfoPath, which did ship, but actually got canceled 5 years ago. So my record wasn't very good for my first set of projects. But then after that, I worked on Windows, and that's done pretty well. So I worked on an area called the shell, which is things like the start menu, when you bring up like a window that shows your files and folders, the desktop, stuff like that. That's what the shell team owned. And then at that point, I decided I wanted to go into management, and it turned out that Expedia offered me a management position. And so I left and I went to Expedia. Expedia was also a lot of fun. It was a little different because it was a much smaller company. One of the things that, is a plus and a minus about Microsoft, it's so big, you can do kind of almost anything you want there, right? They have so many different products that, just pick another product and now you're doing something totally different. At Expedia, it was just one thing, but the advantages was, I really knew all the engineers that worked at that company, and so you can have a different kind of influence over a company like that than at a really big company. So I did that, and then eventually came back to Microsoft, started in Office, and then went to Word. And